Hello guys, and welcome back for another video where we'll talk about for loops, one of the three main loops in the Java programming language. So in case you want a refresher on what loops are in general, loops basically execute a set of instructions or functions repeatedly once its conditions are met. There are three main types of Java loops, the do while loop, the while loop, and the for loop. First, the while loop. It will repeatedly execute its set of instructions if its given Boolean condition is true. Meanwhile, the do-while loop will execute its set of instructions, at least once, and depending on the Boolean condition, will execute it again. Lastly, the for loop will execute its set of instructions multiple times on a fixed Boolean condition. The key difference between for loop and the rest of the loops is that the for loop has a fixed number of iterations or repetitions, while the rest of the loops doesn't have a fixed number of repetitions. So if the number of iteration is fixed, it's recommended to use for loop. So we'll just tackle on the topic of for loop. So again, a for loop is used to iterate a part of the program multiple times, and if you know exactly how many times you want to loop it, then it's recommended to use the for loop. So there are four parts you need to know about the simple for loop. First thing you have to do is to initialize a variable. This is the initial condition for the for loop if it's first executed. So in this, we either initialize a new variable or have a previously initialized variable in the statement. But for now, we'll have a new variable. Variable I, integer, I is equals, let's say, to 1. Next thing you have to make is the condition of the for loop. The condition will be executed in each loop in order to be tested. Let's have the variable I and see if it's less than or equal to 5. Then that's our condition. Next, we're going to make the statement. It's actually under the for loop. It will be the instruction that the for loop will execute once the conditions are met. We'll print out the variable I, the value of the variable I. It'll be the one instruction for the for loop to execute. Once the statement is executed, the value of I will either be incremented or decremented. Increment is basically increase. It means increase, while decrement means decrease. So if you want the increment I, the value of I, you use plus plus. Plus plus is basically another term for plus 1. But if you want to decrement it, you can use minus minus. Same way as plus plus, but instead of plus 1, it's minus 1. So for now, we'll just have to increment the value of I. Plus plus. Then end it with the braces, and boom, we have a for loop. Again, this is our initialization of the variable. This will be our condition, statement, and finally, increment decrement part. So, how does this work once it's run? We'll see. Let's have a sudo console here, just to see how it looks like when it's run the console. The program will first go through the initial condition. In this case, the variable I is initialized and it's equals to 1. So here we'll have I is equals to 1. Alright, we'll go through it step by step. Next, it'll go to the condition to see whether it is true or false. Is I less than or equal to 5? Answer is yes, because I is equals to 1 and 1 is less than 5. The condition will return true to the loop. Next, it will execute the statement or the instruction of the for loop. So in this case, we print out the value of I, the value being 1. So in the console, if it's run, it will return the value 1. And then it will go to the increment decrement part. We increment the value of I. So we increase the value of I by 1. 1 plus 1, 2. After that, we'll go through the whole loop again. We don't need to go to the initial condition anymore because it will only be executed once. So from now on, we're going to execute these 3. In the second loop, it will go to the condition and see if I is still less than or equal to 5. So in the second loop, we go through the condition again to see if I, the value of I, is still less than or equal to 5. So is it still less than or equal to 5? Answer is yes, because it's still 2. Once that's true, it will return the value of true to the loop, and it will then print out the value of I, but not the initialized value, not 1. It will now print 2, since it's incremented in this part. Then once it's done printed, it'll go through the increment part again. It'll increase the value of 2 by 1, 3. So now I is equals to 3. Third loop goes through the same thing again. Go through the condition again, see if I is still less than or equal to 5. Still 3, therefore less than 5. It's true. Then it'll print out statement, the value of I, which is 3. It's now 3. And now you're starting to get the idea of how this works. Okay, so let's go through the next loop again. It goes the same way as 4. That's 4 now, that brings out 4. Same idea, increment, times 5. Is I is equal to 5. It's always addition, thus it's not equal to 5. Let's see, 5. And then increment. So increment has about each step. Sixth. Now, what happens here? The value of I is now 6. It goes to the condition I is less than or equal to 5. Turns out 6 is greater than 5 already. So what happens? It stops. The loop finally stops. Conditions is now false. So there you have it, a simple demonstration of how for loop works. Now let's move on to some demonstrations, some more examples, and how it will be implemented.
Good evening, everyone. It's me again. I will be teaching you how to code a Java program that uses or utilizes array list and for loop at the same time. I hope my audio is picking up well right now because this is the second time I'm making this because the first video my mic didn't pick up what I was saying. So first we're gonna make a Java project. We're gonna name it in honor of Chadwick Boseman. So create. We open our Chadwick Boseman folder and go to the source folder, create a new class. And our class name would be for list. Oh, okay. So for this Java, the first thing we're gonna have to do is import. But let me fix this for a while. We're gonna be importing 4 things, which would be Java import java.io exception. Next would be import java at util at array list. Import java.io at buffered reader. We're gonna be needing this guy to take our inputs java.io at stream reader. Same with that guy. We're gonna be needing him for taking our inputs. Oh, input stream reader, sorry. There you have it. And now we're gonna be moving on to our code. I'm gonna set up our main method, public static void main string. And after this, we're gonna put our throws exception. Without this, it wouldn't take the inputs number format exception IO exception. Okay. First things first, we're gonna initialize our buffered reader. Buffered reader. The name for it would be simply reader equals new buffered reader, open parenthesis, new input stream reader system dot in. Now this line would be taking our inputs. It's 2 lines. System, and we're asking how many names we would like to input. System.out.println. How many names would you like to line, please? Enter an integer. And the next line would be the buffered reader reading how many or how much names we'd like to input. So since it's going to be an integer, we're going to start with int initialized and number of names equals, we're going to convert to integer dot parse int reader. We're calling our reader from buffered reader. We're calling our buffered reader with reader dot read line parenthesis and there. The next line would be, we would make our array list. So array list, type of array list would be string, and this would be names. That would be the name for our list. Equals new array list string so all our inputs would be going inside this array list, and then this one would be how much it would take, how many names we'd like to input. Now we're going to make our for loop for int I, the iteration int I is equal to 0. It can be any character, but I is the most common one. So yeah, I is less than number of names, and then I plus plus. Sorry, that was my alarm because it's for my org. You have to do something in our group chat. Sorry. So in this line, the for loop, it's gonna keep looping with I. So it's gonna start at 0. So if I is less than number of names, it will keep looping by adding itself additional one integer every time it loops. So when it gets to the same number of names, it's gonna stop looping. System.out.println, please enter a name. Your name, yeah. And then we're gonna add it to our names array list. Names.add. We're gonna call our reader to read this input. Read line parenthesis. There. Wait, something's wrong here. So after the for loop, we proceed to showing our output system that out that print line. The names that you have entered are plus no sorry plus names. And then just to show you a quick sample, control save, run. Just to make it very quick, we're gonna start with two first. So we're gonna put Bill and Kyle. So there's two. And if we put five, Bill, yeah, Lyle, Josh, James, and Ben. We have five names. And there you have it. Thank you for watching my vid. I hope you learned something out of this. And that's it. Thank you. And I hope